Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. I am Heena Gambhir. And joining us today is a very special guest this evening. We are joined by former Finance Minister of the country, Mr. P. Chidambaram. Sir, thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. You are only second to Morarji Desai in terms of numbers of budgets presented. If I may say that, Mr. Desai presented 10 and you 9. Your 1997 and 98 budget, in fact, was called as the dream budget. It earned that name because of what you announced. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if I ask you to rate the budget of Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman that she presented on 1st of February, what will you say? How will you rate it?
I'm not one of those 142 people whose wealth has grown from 23 lakh crore to 53 lakh crore. If you ask them, they will rate it, why 10 out of 10? They will rate it even 100 out of 10. The point is, from whose point of view am I rating? I'm rating this from the point of view of the 84% households who have lost their incomes, suffered a loss of income in the last 2 years. I'm speaking on behalf of the 60 lakh MSMEs which have closed down. I'm speaking on behalf of the 4.6 crore people who've been pushed into extreme poverty. I'm speaking on behalf of the parents of children who have suffered a huge learning loss in the last 2 years. And I can go on. From their point of view, from the masses of India, from the middle class of India, the rating can only be between 2 and 3 out of 10.
Okay. Mr. Chidambaram, you've chosen to call this a capitalist budget. Is it loaded in favor of capitalists or it lacks populism?
I have nothing against capitalism or capitalist. In fact, I support the creation of wealth. The dispute is about, while creation of wealth is correct and welcome, what about the accumulation of wealth? And what about the accumulation of wealth beyond a certain point? We can debate it on another occasion. Why is this a capitalist budget? I'll tell you why. I think there are 3 drivers of making a nation prosperous, equal, plural, equitable. One is work, one is welfare, and one is wealth. On wealth, this budget scores high. But what about work? What about jobs? And all that the finance minister can say is, over a period of 5 years, my budget will create 60 lakh jobs. That is about 12 lakh jobs a year. What did Mr. Narendra Modi say before he became Prime Minister? He will create 2 crore jobs a year. He obviously shifted his stance. Today, 46 lakh people enter the workforce every year looking for work. And if you are creating 12 lakh jobs because of this capital-intensive, capital-based investment budget, how does it deal with the issue of joblessness? More than work, where I'm disappointed, I'm more disappointed by the complete contempt for welfare. What about welfare? What about cash transfers to the extremely poor? What about people who've been pushed into extreme poverty? What about children who are suffering from malnutrition, stunting, and wasting? There must be some allocation for welfare. Look at the allocation for welfare in terms of fertilizer subsidy, food subsidy, crop insurance, Maganrega. All these allocations have been lowered, deducted. I can give you the numbers. Therefore, on work, this budget scores 0. On welfare, this budget scores 0. On wealth creation, it may have scored a few points, which is why I said, on balance, I can't give it more than 2 or 3 points out of 10.
Okay, zero on work, zero on welfare, that's what you say. But the finance minister says that this is a budget for continuity. Prime Minister Modi has called it people-friendly and a progressive budget.
Tell me why. Tell me how. I have listed 11 challenges in my opening statement yesterday before the press conference. Now, point by point, tell me which of those 11 challenges have been met. Which of those 11 challenges? We can't talk in the air. Then I have listed why this budget has failed the masses of the people, the poor people. Now tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me which data point of mine is wrong. There's no point making a general statement. In fact, I believe the finance minister said, another interviewer told me, those who criticize the budget don't have the brains to understand the budget. I agree. We don't have the brains to understand the budget because unlike the finance minister who doesn't eat onions, we are onion-eating Dravidians. So what is the point of being dismissive and contemptuous?
So in your opinion...
Yes.
So, sir, in your opinion, this lack of focus on welfare is an oversight or it's deliberate?
No, obviously, because either they have contempt for the poor or they don't have enough resources to provide for welfare. It could be one of the two. I'm willing to give them a benefit of doubt that they're not contemptuous of the poor. Then you should have raised more resources. You should have made better allocation of available resources. You should have addressed welfare. Last 2 years have been the worst 2 years in recent memory. Masses of people have suffered. Every family has suffered. You have to provide some relief to the families who have suffered, including the middle class.
Okay. Sir, I also want to talk to you a little bit about the private sector. In the budget, government has virtually admitted that private sector's investment isn't coming. And that's the reason why probably government has stepped up capital expenditure quite sharply, a 35% jump that we have seen on a year-on-year. Why, in your opinion, the private sector is reluctant? The government did offer relief to the corporate sector. Look at the corporate tax rate right now. I mean, today it's lower than the individual tax rate in the country, yet private sector is not opening its purse strings.
The answers are obvious. I think if the finance minister or the prime minister calls a couple of economists privately and asks them their real opinion, they'll tell you. Private sector is not investing. Reason one, capacity utilization is extremely low. You saw the graph of capacity utilization. If capacity utilization is about 45 or 50% or even 55%, why would I invest more in the business when the existing capacity is not being utilized? That is point one. Point two, the government has become a government of surveillance. See what the government is doing with the CBI, ED, SFIO, and even NIA. If all these agencies have been unleashed, which businessman would want to invest in India? Number three, it is not as though the businessmen are not investing. They are investing abroad. They're investing in Singapore, they're investing in Europe, they're investing in UK, they're investing in the US. They are investing abroad. They are not willing to invest in India. Therefore, you must go to the real reasons why they are not investing.
And how real, in your opinion, is the increase in capital expenditure? I mean, it has been increased by almost 35%. Do you think it will actually help spur private investment as being claimed by the center? Because the view is that the contracts for the works will actually go to the private sector.
See, I have given the numbers. The increase in capital expenditure, if you look at the budget at a glance, the total increase in capital expenditure is about 1,50,000 crore over the current year. That is 22-23
Yes.
over 21-22 is about 1,50,000 crore. That is the increase in capital expenditure. So it's about a 25% increase over the current year's investment. It's not 35%. The current year is 60 lakh crore and the next year is 75 lakh crore. It's an increase of about 25%, which is okay. Now, I want to know where this is being invested. Which sectors is it being invested? And then we'll find out whether the sectors they have chosen to invest are job-creating sectors, job-intensive sectors, or are they capital-intensive sectors? If they are capital-intensive sectors, they will absorb this capital but create very few jobs. Today, a power plant or a steel plant using new technology employs very few people. It's only the old industries, sugar, jute, textiles, which employ more people. I'm not saying you should not have the new industries, the sunrise industries. But remember, while they absorb a lot of capital, they create very few jobs. But if this investment is going into some other sectors, like health, like education, like construction, that will create jobs. More jobs of doctors, nurses, paramedics, medical technicians, teachers, librarians, music teachers, sports teachers. So it depends on which sector you're investing. From the budget, I can't make out where this additional investment of 1,50,000 crore is going. You tell me that, and then we will form a conclusion whether this investment will create jobs or this investment will only create capital-intensive industries.
Okay, so clearly a roadmap is what is missing in your opinion. But sir, I also need your wisdom on the issue. You're saying that capitalists are being targeted by government agencies, but these are the same people you say who are flourishing too.
What else will they say? If they say anything to the contrary, the ED will knock on their doors tomorrow. What else will they say? We are living in an atmosphere of fear. I don't know how many businessmen or businesswomen you talk to privately. I meet dozens of them over a month, and everybody whispers, I can't say this in public. That's what they tell me. I can't say this in public, but this is the reality. Which banker is willing to lend today? Why did you put Pradeep Chaudhary in jail for about 10 days? For what? The case is sub judice, so I can't talk about it. The chairman of the largest bank in India, SBI, was put in jail for 10 days without a warrant of arrest being served upon him earlier. They suddenly came one day, knocked on the door, and said, here is a warrant of arrest, and we are arresting you. But what kind of lawless society are we in? Anyway, I can't talk about the case anymore.
We've spoken about the industry, sir, in detail and the issue of capital expenditure. I want to now focus on the middle class, the issue of taxes. Given the current circumstances, do you think something could have been done about direct taxes?
Not whether it could have been done, whether it should have been done. If 84% of households have lost jobs or suffered loss of income over the last 2 years, they deserve relief. It could be a one-time relief. It could be a short-term relief for 2 or 3 years, but they deserve relief. The middle class is seething with anger, but they dare not speak. But when they speak to us privately, the middle class is seething with anger.
But sir, then finance minister has said that middle class is actually a large spectrum, which has the middle income being the common factor, but it's spread across the board. For example, affordable housing, 48,000 crore is there for PM Awas Yojana in this budget. That's going to help the middle class. There are measures for MSMEs that will also help the middle class. She says it's not correct to say nothing was done for middle class just because tax breaks weren't there.
No, wait a minute. Who are we talking about? There is a tax-paying middle class, correct? The taxpayer belongs to the middle class in my definition. Now, the taxpayer has got no relief. So that middle class or that segment of the middle class has got no relief. Now, who are we talking about then? People above that middle class or people below that middle class? There is a lower middle class which doesn't pay income tax. But it is that lower middle class which falls within the 84% households which have suffered a loss of income. It is that lower middle class who has children who've been pulled out of private schools and put in government schools. But in government schools, there has been no teaching at all for the last 2 years. And the children have suffered a huge learning loss because they have no access to devices and there's no teaching in government schools. So which middle class are we talking about? The lower middle class required relief by interventions in education to alleviate the learning loss, interventions in the health sector to alleviate malnutrition, stunting, and wasting. The tax-paying middle class deserve relief in taxes. So whichever way you look at it, the middle class deserved relief. You tell me the segment of the middle class, and I'll tell you what relief could have been given to them.
Sir, because, we raised this question yesterday as well here on Mirror Now, and the view was that only 1.4 crore people pay taxes. And by only looking at the aspect of direct tax, we are not really seeing the focus that has been given on others. For example, the focus that was there on startups this time.
See, as I explained to you, the 1.4 crore people who pay tax, the bulk of them are the middle class. Are we talking about that middle class? The relief that they deserved was tax relief. But there is a middle class which is below that class. It is called the lower middle class, which doesn't pay tax, but it belongs to the middle class. That lower middle class deserved relief, and I explained it, and I don't wish to repeat it again. Which segment of the middle class are you talking about? Now let's talk about the PM Awas Yojana. The PM Awas Yojana is for the poor, not the middle class. The PM Awas Yojana is a one-room tenement with one room, a kitchen, and a toilet. That is not what the middle class wants. It's largely in rural areas. Have you seen a PM Awas Yojana house? There are many in my constituency. It started with a capital investment about 50,000 rupees. I think it's gone up to about 2.5 lakhs or so. But that's a very basic shelter. PM Awas Yojana is good, but that's a very basic shelter. We are talking about a class below the lower middle class. And I'm not saying PM Awas Yojana is bad. This started as Indira Gandhi Awas Yojana, and we implemented it for 10 years. So it's nothing new. We started the Indira Awas Yojana, which they call PM Awas Yojana.
And sir, by not providing relief to this vast middle class that you are referring to, has the government lost the chance to spur demand, which is the immediate need of the hour?
Absolutely. In fact, many economists today, and I congratulate them for being brave, they have pointed out the real issue is lack of demand. Why is businesses' capacity utilization low today? Because there's not enough demand for what they produce. It is the lack of demand which is hurting India's economy. And the way to boost demand is the fiscal stimulus. They did not do any fiscal stimulus under their, complex sounding names. I don't know what they call, some Kalyan, something. Some complex name which I can't remember. But they should have done a fiscal stimulus now by providing cash transfers, by giving tax reliefs, GST tax relief, so that to boost demand. They missed the opportunity to boost demand, And as a result, capacity utilization will continue to be low. As a result, private investment will continue to be low. These are the chain, they are consequential effects.
Okay. So you've been the finance minister of the country yourself. I want to ask you now, didn't the government face a political economic dilemma of the sorts? Because if the finance minister had actually announced major tax cuts, then it would have been termed as an election budget. Isn't it significant then?
This is astonishing to me. There are 5 states going to elections. One would have expected the finance ministers to announce state-specific reliefs, state-specific projects. That would be populist. She should not do populist measures in an election eve budget. For example, remember, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee of the Congress government postponed the date of the budget because elections were around the corner. So if she was so rigorous about adhering to the principle of avoiding populism, I congratulate her, but she should have postponed the budget to March 15. Why did she announce the budget on February 1? And what she says is, I did not do something wrong, so please congratulate me for that. I don't congratulate anyone for not doing wrong. I congratulate people for doing the right thing. And the right thing would have been to postpone the delivery of the budget to March 15.
Okay. You're saying that the government should have idly postponed the budget to March 15. That's an interesting comment coming from you. But sir, now talking about the issue of jobs specifically, the government's claim is that just by PLI, which is their performance-linked investment, the scheme that they have, some 60 lakh jobs are going to be created. Employment Credit Guarantee Scheme has helped MSMEs. That's also the claim of the government. Your comments?
I'm afraid you have a short memory. I remember that the to-be Prime Minister of India in waiting, said before he assumed the office of Prime Minister, he will create 2 crore jobs a year. In 7 years, they ought to have created 14 crore jobs. On the contrary, we have no additional jobs. We have a loss of jobs, be that as it may. Now today, you want me to congratulate them for promising 60 lakh jobs in 5 years. That's 12 lakh jobs a year. 12 lakh jobs versus the earlier promise of 2 crore jobs. Achhe din aane wale hai was 2 crore jobs. And now we have reduced it to 12 lakh jobs. What is the inflow into the workforce every year? For the last 4 years, according to the Labour Bureau of the government, the average addition to the workforce, that is people seeking jobs, is 46 lakhs a year. If 46 lakh people are seeking jobs every year, and you're promising them 12 lakh jobs a year by your PM Gati Shakti and similar programs, what will the rest do? They fry pakoras and sell pakoras? Because remember, the Prime Minister once said, even frying and selling pakoras is a job.
So in your opinion, sir, what is it that the FM could have really done to solve India's job crisis? Because it was there even before pandemic came into our lives.
Pre-pandemic was because of economic incompetent management. Pre-pandemic, we were not in power. Pre-pandemic, the same government has been in power for 5 years. The same Prime Minister and the second Finance Minister. So if pre-pandemic situation was bad, the BJP government must bear sole responsibility. If the post-pandemic situation is worse, they have to bear the responsibility. How can they pass the responsibility to anyone else? Who prevented them from correcting the huge, colossal errors they committed pre-pandemic? Demonetization, a muddled GST. Who created this situation? And post-pandemic, for the last 2 years, we've been crying hoarse. Stimulate demand. put money in the hands of people and they don't listen to us. So who is responsible?
Okay, so there's another important issue that I want to discuss with you, and that was the key highlight, one of the few highlights of the budget that was presented by Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman. The second budget is the pandemic, and that was the issue of crypto world in the country. Government has announced 30% tax on gains from virtual digital assets. Has the government legalized it then without a bill?
No,
How should we read that statement?
They may have a provision in the finance bill. They may have amended the RBI Act. I don't know. I've not looked into the finance bill yet. I will look into it. But leave aside the legal cover for crypto assets, cryptocurrency or crypto assets. Leave that aside. Let's focus on the economics. At least, to my knowledge, at least two ex-RBI governors have seriously questioned the power to create cryptocurrency in the hands of non-government players. Today, the power to create currency is in the hands of the RBI alone. Only the RBI can create currency. Why is creating currency, the power to create currency is an important tool? Because that decides monetary policy. Monetary policy is largely influenced by the amount of currency in circulation. Therefore, that power must be solely in the hands of the RBI. Now, cryptocurrency can be created by anyone if he or she has the technology. In fact, there are many, many cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is just one. There are several names which I've read in newspapers. There are several cryptocurrencies. In fact, Miami is becoming the crypto capital of the world because they are legalized cryptocurrencies. Now, the moment you allow a person other than the RBI governor to create currency, you are destabilizing, undermining the power to maintain monetary stability. Please see the preamble to the RBI Act. The preamble to the RBI Act is monetary stability is the objective. Now, two ex-governors have said this will completely ruin our capacity to formulate monetary policy and to maintain monetary stability. So cryptocurrency must be banned. Now they have gone a step ahead. They are not only going to legalize cryptocurrency, they seem to be legalizing crypto assets. What are crypto assets? Land, property, shares, bonds. These are visible, tangible assets. Now, crypto asset is not even a visible, tangible asset. Now, who's going to invest in these crypto assets? Certainly not 99.99% of the people of India. So, for whom are you creating this crypto asset and cryptocurrency and legalizing it? I want to know. Ask the finance minister a specific answer. Will 99.999% of India's population benefit from cryptocurrency and crypto assets? If they are not, for whom are you creating this legal cryptocurrency and crypto asset? I'm shocked.
Okay, sir, even the current RBI governor has said that about 80 to 85% of the investors that are there in crypto market right now are below 1,000 rupee mark. So if about 6 lakh crore is what we are looking at, which has been invested, it can be inferred that money really belongs to the rich because, you know, most of the people, 90% in fact, have just invested from 500 to about 5,000 odd rupees. So how will they be viewing the tax, as inhibitor or facilitator, in your opinion?
See, I saw a flash on your screen. RBI will create the cryptocurrency or some flash to that effect. But I didn't see the word RBI alone.
RBI will come with its own digital currency.
No, wait a minute. That's what I'm saying. It's RBI alone will come with a digital currency. Or RBI also will create the digital currency. There's a huge difference between the two. If RBI alone will create the digital currency, then it only means that paper currency will be in the form of digital currency. RBI will still have control over currency creation, and RBI will be the master of the monetary system and monetary policy. But if RBI will create digital currency and others also will create digital currency, then that's a dangerous slide into the unknown. So let's let the government clarify. Will RBI alone create the digital currency, or RBI plus others will be allowed to create the digital currency? Please ask this question to the government and come up with an answer, and I'll comment on that.
Okay. So one more issue that I want to quickly discuss with you is about the disinvestment target. Now the government has reduced it to 65,000 crore. Is that a more realistic target in your opinion than setting an ambitious one and not being able to achieve it? Or there isn't really much now left for the government to disinvest? How do you see?
You see, if I remember right, except one year, this government did not achieve its disinvestment target. Nobody believes in these disinvestment targets. Actually, according to me, they are filler numbers. They are filler numbers to balance the budget and show a lower fiscal deficit. So please don't pay much attention to the disinvestment target. The question is, what are their plans for disinvestment? Whatever revenue it brings is a windfall to the government. Question is, which are they going to disinvest? There is already a huge controversy about disinvesting a small share, a small fraction of the LIC equity. Now, I'm not expressing any opinion on that. Because if we argue both ways, we leave that aside. Let them tell me which are the PSUs that are selected for disinvestment and what is the criteria for their selection. I will judge each case on merits. I want to know which are the PSUs being selected and what is the criteria for selecting that PSU. If you tell me that, I may agree with that this deserves to be disinvested, and I may say it does not deserve to be disinvested. For example, I support the Air India disinvestment. It should have been long ago. We tried it, but we failed because of internal opposition within the government.
Okay, so last question before we let you go. As the former finance minister of the country, any one thing that you liked in the budget, anything that you thought was good?
No. Why do you ask one thing? I will tell you three things that I liked in the budget.
You liked many?
You'll be happy three times. The first thing I liked in the budget is promised capital expenditure of 7,50,000 crore as against the current year's expenditure of 6,02,000 crore. The second thing I liked is the promise to states that they can additionally borrow another 1 lakh crore interest-free. And the third thing I liked, what I liked most, is that the budget speech was mercifully shot at 90 minutes. That's what I most liked.
All right. I mean, that didn't really work well for us because we had our guests planned from 1 p.m. onwards thinking that it's at least going to go on till 1, but it just got over at 12:30. So we had to internally then discuss what to do next. But thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for helping us decode Budget 2022 for our viewers.
Thank you.